4 days down, one more to go. It is a little nightly, and it is varied by time and stuff. But I mean, it is what it
You
is.
can watch when you want to watch.
Absolutely. So here's our nightly recap of what went on today, and this was a the prototyping phase. If you're familiar with design thinking, um, yeah, it was interesting experimenting with processes today. Webbs, what was your favorite part of today's hustle?
Learning what a firehawk is.
Which that was terrifyingly interesting.
Yeah.
That was an intriguing process there. What is a fire hawk?
It is a group of three different types of birds in Australia, and actually, they're also in Asia and Africa that will pick up smoldering sticks and drop them in dry brush to set it on fire so that the animals that live in the dry brush go scurrying out so the birds can swoop down and eat them. So they're called firehawks because they're like um, raptors that uh, will use fire to hunt
Arsonist,
or like to, yeah, they're arsonist birds.
indeed.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I mean, outside of that, um, my highlight was getting seeing curator in front of other people.
and curator is what for the uninitiated?
Curator is a tool that we've built to scaffold lesson planning that integrates high leverage instructional strategies, standards mapping, and the portrait of a Nevada learner in a scaffoldable, easy way that saves your lesson plan, builds out your lesson plans with you, and then saves them to your drive.
Absolutely, and it was again a nice piece of coding and a marvel of efficiency. Uh, it only get better. There were not no weren't any gripes today, which was cool. So yeah, that was exciting to say the least. Uh, and when we say prototyping today, it was really prototyping a process for our participants today, how they might utilize everything that was has been demonstrated thus far in their learning environment. And the we had a bell hooks conversation. We had a it's been very intriguing listening to the chatter and the stopping and the contemplation, and then it's been fun. It's
What
been
was the highlight of today for you?
it's anytime I can reminisce on third grade and Miss Komar. I wish I could find that's like the one teacher. I've had lots of great teachers, but the one teacher I've not been in any communication with is Miss Komar, my third grade teacher. That to so for in transparency, we were talking about uh, the fact that there are rules, but there aren't really rules, but perhaps there are rules. And when I was in third grade, I had the opportunity to go into the Fort Lincoln Community School library that was helmed by Miss Perrin. And I walk in and I see there's a poetry section. And I see this book, and I pull this book out and I start looking at it, and I'm aghast because there are no capital letters in this book. And it just I was marveled at this. It was a book of poetry by E. Cummings, and I went on this like I'm going to lower my name will be lowercase. I'm not going to write in capital letters. Like punctuation is optional. And Miss Komar very quickly dashed my dreams and said, "You are not E. Cummings." And that was it was sobering that my third grade self had to come to the realization that I was not indeed a poet laureate, and had not mastered the rules of writing to such an extent that I could totally disavow them. So um, yeah, I mean, there's an opportunity for us all to experiment with uh, playing around the edges of rules. But I think one of the participants today talked a little bit about he's a PE teacher, a little bit about getting your star players get a little bit of more. They get a longer rope in order to demonstrate, because they have demonstrated the fact that they are proficient at the basics of the game in many ways. So that was a highlight for me. Anytime I have the time to reminisce with Miss Comar, I think it's a good, as a good day. It's a great lady.
It's interesting. My third grade teacher was also one of my like formative teachers, Mrs. Medea.
And how so?
Um, I don't know if it's third grade or what. Uh, she was that really good balance of firm but fun. So we did a lot of really, first of all, like third grade was cool because third and fourth grade for me were team taught. So they were teams of three teachers, and our walls would like move and stuff. So you could get like all three classes together and do big events, or you'd combine like two of the classes, and it was just really cool how they did that. And we did a lot of fun things. We had like I remember we had you had to make something and like sort of sell it at like this mock store to learn about economics. Um, we we did a lot of like crafts. We did a lot of fun reading. It's just a really good. I just have really fond memories of third grade,
Mm,
and it being a place where like it was fun, but also like we learned a lot of stuff. And I remember Miss Medea being just a kind and compassionate person, but also like no nonsense.
no, okay.
And so when I became a teacher, like she was a big reason I wanted to become a teacher was because I really liked being in her class.
Miss Medea.
Miss Medea,
Very cool.
Madeja.
Very cool.
Yeah, I imagine she's retired now.
I mean, I would hope she's done her time. She's still teaching, like, God bless her. So the whole point of this week is to help teachers find a system that will benefit them. And I mean, these teachers start first week of August. Um, put yourself in the classroom teacher's shoes right now. Would you have benefited from the system that we are proffering?
I mean, I'm 1,000% biased, but we've heard this from participants this week. We've heard them say, I wish I had this last year. I wish I had this in my first year. You should have taught this at the end of summer, which we did actually, but just not for this group. Um, so I think I don't even need to imagine. Like they have said out loud that they're glad to be going into this school year having spent the time to build this out.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it too, and I think the amount of time that we've spent on it versus the payoff it'll give for the rest of the school year, I think it's a really solid trade-off because you set that foundation, which has been kind of the theme of the week, right? Like you set that foundation and it'll set you up so that you're building your NEPF evidence throughout the school year. You're building your library of lessons throughout the school year. And you don't have to, it's not an additional thing on top of if you're doing HMH, if you're doing whatever math program, it works in tandem with, so that when you want to reference it later in the school year or next year, it's all organized in a way that you can go back to it, make your adjustments, update it for the next school year with new information about your students. And you finally there's finally a tool that really helps you focus on being the talent as the teacher and not having to be the admin and the talent entirely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's been born out in the amount of fun and the almost whimsical nature people are taking with what they're creating. Um, it's been very sobering in that particular sense, that there have been a number of very pleasant ahas, like, oh, that's really dope. Um, yeah, high school teachers are generally very difficult to please. Like the elementary friends, we can usually, you singing little songs. They're kind of, lots of elementary school teachers have a disposition towards silliness and stuff. you leave the elementary environment, there's a lot of seriousness about stuff, and it's been really cool to see the teachers not be so serious. Not be so serious, but still be attentive, understanding what they need to do, but understand that there should be some fun. I'm not for edutainment, like you're not there to entertain the kid, but at the same time, should be some fun, some opportunities for imaginations to run wild a little bit.
Mhm. I agree with that. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier this week that neither of us is really the edutainment teacher. And also, I think there are ways to make it interesting and engaging. Like I remember, I was there was a point in my last class that I had. We were learning about helicopters and how helicopters work and like the physics of a helicopter, and they got super into it, and they were like researching and reading up on yaw, which I hadn't even heard that word before we started learning about helicopters. And so it was engaging and entertaining, but it wasn't that level of edutainment that's sort of like performative. That I think like some gamification can go too far into that like performative surface level edutainment and not engaging like entertaining and engaging and educational
Okay. Yeah,
in engational.
but I think it goes back to Schlechte, and like schools aren't great because of teacher performances. They're great because of student performances, and the teacher isn't the person who has to bring the excitement, etc. How do you scaffold excitement? How do you scaffold engagement so that the kids are doing the things that you're asking them to do that are being asked from the standards or the portrait of the learner or whatever your North Star is in your classroom. You getting in, like playing the guitar in front of the classroom, that is wonderful. I'm glad you know how to play the guitar. But if the standards say the kid is supposed to play the guitar, you playing the guitar really is not the thing that we want to come see. We want to see the young people actually attempting to fulfill the standards or the spirit of the standards in your classroom. And so that's what it seems to be. That's one of the things that one of the participants talk about. Like it's like, well, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna create gems in all these different voices, and I was like, maybe not. You put one voice out there and allow students to translate that voice into their own operating system that allows it to reach them, rather than you know, uh, deciding what the voice of reason is in your particular classroom. Give students an opportunity to have their own Rosetta Stone and say, this person really likes, I like, again, I am partial to Skeletor just because I am 80 cartoons are just there's not another era in cartoon history that beats 80s cartoons, in my opinion. I mean, Jason the Will Warriors, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Micronauts. We were told we end up going down a rabbit hole of 80s cartoons toward the end of our time today as well. So I'm kind of, reminiscing a little bit about those things. But giving kids an opportunity to translate what is happening in the classroom in their own language is one of the opportunities that some of these large language models gives young people, whether it be soccer stars or kids who love to cook or whatever, helping them understand things.
My favorites are Julia Child and Steve Irwin.
Her voice, I could never get past her voice. I could never
That's one of the things I love about it.
could not get past the voice. I was like, she's like sucked helium like before she got on there. I was like, that's
Also, I like to cook, so I really enjoy when there's a cooking metaphor. And one of the things I liked about Julia Child was she made it very approachable, right? She wasn't like a stuffy about French cooking. She was very like matter of fact. We're all human beings. We do the best. We're trying to make it the best we can, and that's kind of the presence she had. So that's why I like that as one of the
but
uh,
it,
styles that I'll have Claude do from time to time.
as a non-cook, but
Yeah,
somebody who watched cooking shows with my mom,
yeah.
mine would be like Justin Wilson, the Cajun chef.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my
Yeah, yeah.
gumbo. Like he would say it
Yeah.
all the time. And then Yan can cook, of course. Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yan can cook. You can too. It's like, oh, cool. That's cool. I just like to see the stuff happen. Like, I could do that, but it's kind of cool to see that you're doing it. But
Yeah.
Justin Wilson was hilarious because that thick Louisiana
Yeah.
accent was like,
There's a couple TikTok creators from New Orleans that I will see from time to time that remind me of him.
yeah, he was an interesting dude. But yeah, I mean, it's tomorrow's going to be an experimental day because the things we're going to do tomorrow we didn't do with the first crew, and so
We did some of the things with the first crew. We did slopped.
yeah, but tomorrow there's an activity that we did not do with the first,
Oh, okay.
and
Gotcha.
so that is going to be totally experimental. We're going to see how far we can push people's brains. We have two uber creatives or two people who are have a creative bent.
Yeah.
So I think they'll take to it and kind of like it'll be interesting. We got a participant who seems to be like a younger teacher in terms of just chronological age, who seems to have some things going for him. And then there's a participant who's like,
Grizzled veteran.
yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see how the grizzled veteran in particular takes the very right brain direction we're gonna go, even though that doesn't exist. But you understand what I'm saying when I say right brain.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to like a very structured, unstructured space tomorrow,
Hmm.
because one of the big takeaways from today was the concept of branding, and should teachers have a branded instance in their classroom, and if they have a branded instance, should students also have an opportunity to brand themselves? And the consensus today was that teachers should have like a branded concept,
Hmm.
and therefore students should have it. But when we say that, I think that means different things to different people.
Mm. Like in what sense?
That, for example, all right, so I'll take my personal pedagogical style and put it under the microscope very quickly. I always had a name for my class. So my class was Virgil for the last like 10, 12 years that I taught. Uh, and it was like, hey, we're not going, especially when I was a specialist, like we're not going to computer class, we're going to Virgil. That is where we're going. This fourth space where we become different people or whatever. And then
Like the concept of the magic circle, right? You're extending the concept of the magic circle. Say what the magic circle is for people at home who have never heard the term magic circle.
magic circle, fourth wall, this magical place in which, but not the fourth wall, because fourth wall is a different thing, but magic circle in terms of if you, I liken it to the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when they go in the wardrobe and they're suddenly in Narnia, and you're like, oh, okay, wow, I can be this different person I was this person on outside the wardrobe, but once I come in, I'm now, a prince or a king or a griffin or a chimera or whatever you want to be. And it gives you this like permission to play,
Hmm.
permission to be to create a character, create a persona that might not be you outside of that particular realm, right?
Like I keep saying, identity is engagement. So if it's creating a new identity, if it's digging deeper into your own identity, identity is engagement.
And I mean, most humans dig it. I mean, it's the reason why rappers don't rap with their real name. Why, we have
Hmm.
actors and actresses who change their names in order to be. Sylvester Stallone is not his name.
Hmm.
I am very, just total sidebar. I Am Rocky. I definitely want to see this film because it's going to tell the story of how Sylvester Stallone became Sylvester Stallone. I think it's going to be a very interesting situation.
Interesting.
If you're not someone familiar with the Sylvester Stallone story, he wrote Rocky himself. It's the first movie he wrote.
I didn't know that.
First movie he wrote. He had to sell his dog. He was so broke he had to sell his dog. And
Oh my
he was
gosh.
buying his dog back for like 10
Oh,
times the price. But he
oh wow.
sold his dog to pay his rent and pay his bills and stuff like that. Ends up buying the dog back. But he wrote the script for Rocky, and they did not want to let him star in his own film. And he
Mm.
had to fight to star in this film. And of course, it won an Academy Award and stuff like that. It was like it's a fascinating story. But the other thing that in terms of branding is I always had kids work in teams and they had to have a logo. They had to have a handshake. So when they saw each other in the hallway or they greeted one another, there's a handshake they did, something that made them feel special in the group and we're bonded. Even if we weren't friends, we were a team. And so that kind of those kind of affinity groups and encouraging young people to we did talk a little bit about, was it this group that we talked a little bit about earlier this week in terms about, oh yeah, we did, about being friends with everybody. You're not going to be friends with everybody that you work with, etc. But you need to have a cordial enough relationship that we're all going to do our jobs. And I always think of The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's the last championship that was on Netflix, in terms of like those, they really don't seem like they can stand each other now as humans, but they were able to work with one another in order to get the championship final year. So lots of interesting things that happen today. Lots of interesting, but tomorrow it'll be. I'm very anxious to see how if people like are like, oh my goodness, this is way too much or not. But
I super want to do like have this be something that's like oh, it's the guy who has the houses and everybody goes to see his school. I forget his name.
Ron Clark.
Ron Clark. Like we get to do this little like sort of academy camp thing. I love doing it.
Oh
I
yeah,
want to do it again.
It's been fun. I think the other thing that's going to be like wild is I think that we have enough participants out in the wild now that are going to be able to say this thing hopefully influenced me positively the school year. We need to check in on our first participants to kind of shoot them a line. That Google Classroom stuff is getting cooked up, and so we'll shoot that stuff to them. But also, they didn't get access to Curator in its current form, so also extending that to them.
Yeah,
so they know that exists. Yeah, tomorrow will be interesting. We'll do the reflections, and hopefully, people don't run out like, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. That people are happy.
right.
If you're a local Las Vegas person, like the time is ticking very, very, quickly toward, August the 5th, I believe the day is.
That's a teacher's report back. Yeah.
If you're not a Clark County School District teacher, then hopefully you have a few more weeks of summer vacation and you enjoy it or whatever. But if you are someone who is using the Google education environment, that ecosystem, there are, and I'm going to say this, Webbs, and you can feel free to retort. There's really no reason, if you build your own operating system in Google, for you to purchase any other AI tools that are being sold to teachers as solutions.
I'd agree with that.
I think
because you're just not going to have the level of control and the quality of output if you were to choose some random tool as you do if you build out your own classroom operating system. Particularly, we can speak to in the Google infrastructure, not sponsored by Google, by the way. I'd agree with that because and I think there is a level of accessibility that makes it easy to do once you kind of know how to set it up, right? Because if you've been working in a district that does Google for a while, you know how to create a Google Doc, and that's kind of the foundation outside of Google Notebook. The foundation of the whole thing is basically just if you can make a Google Doc, you can build your classroom operating system.
And you're also not spreading your data around, right? Your data staying in one place.
Yep.
That one place that has an agreement with your school district to hopefully not train their models on the data that you're actually utilizing. And so I think it's also it's a safety situation as well. It's a security situation. It's a student data and privacy scenario. And it's also, I think, ease of it lives in your Google Drive. Your Google Drive's connected to Gemini, which is connected to the gems, which is connected to your docs, which is connected to your slides, which is connected to vids. Like if you can't do it in Google, you probably can't do it at this particular point. Um, and it takes advantage of pre-existing artifacts that you've created. If you've got this bang up slide deck that you're like, I love this thing, it's wonderful, you can update that with Gemini and your operating system in a way that you're not going to be able to do with the other tools, with the relative safety of not having to worry about your data being farmed. So,
Mhm.
um, if you are a Clark County School District or anyone who's using Google and you really want to know how you can do this with your educators, we are free and available to help you out. Um, if you're a Nevada teacher, I was just conversing with someone about the Nevada selfportrait.org. We've got Curator built to help you do lessons in Nevada with um, the Portrait of Nevada Learner as the one of the pieces of your lesson planning hustle. It's going to uh, count all your standards and when you did those things, as well as keep you accountable for your portrait and the portrait lenses. So there's lots of stuff that's there that we would love to converse with you about. Webbs, if you had to think about something to change about today, what would you have changed, if anything? If you was like everything went well, then that's also an answer.
If I could change something about today. That's tough because sometimes I think in search of something to change, I think there's a limit to wanting to change things and if you should change things.
Oh,
And I would argue that the conventional wisdom is, oh, there's always something you can improve, as though the thing you choose to change in an effort to improve might not also have the side effect of making things worse. Right? I think we ignore the fact that just because you try to change something in an effort to improve a thing, it doesn't necessarily mean you won't make it worse. So I don't think I would really change much that is worth changing. I think there are very small things worth maybe tweaking. Like, oh, we could have stated the outcomes at the beginning of the time. Um,
I see.
we could have, yeah.
So this is the and Webbs has known me long enough. Uh, let me let you finish so I can finish my thought, and then I'll.
Okay. I think one could argue we could have spent less time on side conversations. But do I think any of these things is going to like make or break the day? No, because I think also there is value in letting you like going where the spirit takes you
Yeah.
and letting moments grow organically where they grow. Like wildflowers are beautiful, but they grow where they grow and you just have to appreciate them for where they are. So I don't think we got through all the things that we aimed to get through. The participants got to the place we wanted them to get to, so I wouldn't really mess with much, to be honest with you.
You brought up outcomes, and it always makes me laugh because when you sit in a traditional PD, right? I guess people want to know what the end is, right? And like until you said that, I didn't realize like I don't like the volcano experiment. If you already know what's going to happen, what's the point of doing the thing, right? It's a lot more fun to lead somebody down the dark. We're on a roller coaster in the dark, and we have no idea where the anything's going to take us because of the fact that when you plan outcomes, I think a lot of the sidebar, especially going back to your, we need to keep this very small in the room
Mm-hmm.
concept. those sidebar conversations led to some of the most interesting little tidbits of information that went into, oh, that's interesting, let's go this place or that place, or humans, and this thing is over there and that thing is over there. And still we didn't leave today until 12:50, and no one complained about it, no one said it, people were just chilling and whatnot.
I think it's an E.E. Cummings situation, though,
House.
because I would say everything you said is true. And I think the reason that's true is because we've been doing this long enough. We know when to break the rules,
Yeah.
and we've been doing it long enough, and we had built enough. We had built enough. What do you call it?
Experience.
No. We had built enough of a relationship with our participants that they were cool with. You kind of generally know the direction we're headed with this, but we have enough credibility with you that you know we're going to take you someplace cool. Whereas if I were in my first, second, third year of teaching and I was doing a PD and I didn't tell my participants where they were going, and I didn't know enough that I had to build the credibility with them for them to trust me to like eat the dinner in the dark and just give me your plate of food, that would have gone very badly, I think. So I think part of the reason we can do that is because we've been doing this a very long time and we have the leeway to be able to break the rules. Whereas I wouldn't say to the average presenter or PD giver of things, like, don't tell your participants what you're going to do. Because if I sat down on a PD and they didn't put the effort in to build that relationship with me and then just started like, oh, just trust me, I know where I'm going. Like, absolutely not. No.
Well, but this is also like, well, I agree what you're saying. That's not as accurate with this situation, because Monday we did tell them where we needed to go, and we showed them that we knew how to get to where we need to go.
Exactly.
Day
right.
4, we had the ability to just say, dude, we're good. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
We know what we're doing. So I think if you establish at the beginning a level of expertise and this is not, again, it's very interesting being comfortable with another human, another is just like I understand implicitly what the deal is. Like, it's not at no point do you sweat at no point did you stop the presentation like, Mike, what are we about to do? Like, it was just like, we're gonna get to where we need to go, we'll be fine. But there is a situation in which day 1 was very structured. There was a PowerPoint, a keynote. We went through the entire deal. Day 2, we started to loosen the structure. Day 3 was kind of like, we know what we're doing. Day 4 is kind of like, there's no need for the PowerPoint at all. And then tomorrow is going to be similar.
There's also a shift as the week goes on from, we start out, hey, there's a high level, actually I gotta go backwards. There's a high level of us leading things and structure and guidance and direct instruction. And then as the week goes on, it becomes more participants building things, doing things, creating things. So you're getting the most out of it. And it is throughout the whole week, you see us doing model coach fate, not only every day and that gradual release model, but also throughout the course of the week and the arc of the week. You're also seeing an overall model coach fade of like, over the course of the week, we're fading into the background and letting you go off, remove your training wheels, experiment, test things out, play around, so that you get that experience, because we're not going to be right there with you in your classroom. We want you to have the confidence of knowing that the tools that we've given you, you can operate them on your own.
And it's fun when you get to play with your food.
That too.
Also, straight side note, I just Googled Justin Wilson. You should never meet your heroes, man. He was a segregationist, dude.
Oh.
Wow. Like the things you learn about folks.
That took a turn.
Wow. So yeah, that was wow. Just happened to like be reading stuff. I'm like, yeah. Okay.
Firehawks, man. Firehawks.
I will not be watching reruns of the Justin Wilson Cajun cooking or whatever it was called. Wow. Absolutely wild.
On that note.
Indeed. We'll be back tomorrow for the very last hustle. And if you're not following us on social media and whatnot, on Instagram. Generally, when I shoot reels, I tag the Intelligent Hoodlums, so you can follow those things there. On TikTok, we're dropping stuff, reels and whatnot, and things, little tidbits that you can utilize for your own Classroom OS. I'm gonna try to be better at doing full-fledged blog posts, but it seems like people like videos because they're a lot more interactive and people can listen to them, watch them, or whatever. So that's the thing. We will be as well. Google Classroom dribble and drop next week. Do not, pretty please, do not spend a whole bunch of time in Google Classroom. Build your Classroom operating system up first, and you're going to have a ton of success, with your Google Classroom. That being said, we will see you tomorrow for the last week of this little hustle. Webbs, anything parting for the people?
Nope. Happy Friday Eve.
God, yeah, absolutely. This has been a long week, fam. It's been a long week. God,
It has.
I don't know what I'm gonna do in a classroom all day coming up, but we'll see.